Where do I begin? As far back as I can remember, I've always loved drawing and storytelling. I grew up on Saturday morning cartoons, comics, and action movies. I saw The Matrix at a very young age, and it had an incredible influence on me.
Warner Brothers Pictures presents...
No. I've always loved cartoons, but not Bugs Bunny. Cartoons with people, stories, adventures. Aladdin, the King of Thieves, on VHS, on repeat in my house. I spent a lot of my childhood creating board games with friends, making videos, comic strips, coming up with characters and superhero designs, and always imagining if these things were actually real published comic characters. When I was 11, I got what was called a digital blue camera. I made little stop-motion videos, making videos with my friends, running around the park, making parodies.
Going to work, honey. Okay. I love you. Yeah, I know you do.
And then growing up on YouTube, I noticed a lot of people were making their own stuff. People were creating their own animations. But often these were humor, very cartoonish characters, and of course, the stick figures. The movies, the video game, was really exciting because I was able to create stories with preset animations. This is also the place where I started calling myself JTmovie. I remember this one point, Justice League Unlimited was on the TV. I remember just watching and I just sighed to myself. I would love to have my own animated TV show. It wasn't until I saw a short animation in October of 2007 called Wolf vs. Jack. I was amazed. How did some regular person make this? Then I learned about what was called Macromedia or Flash 8, and it was a disaster. Trying to make blue circles and making them grow and move, not having any clue what the hell I was doing. But I was excited about the prospect of being able to learn to truly animate characters. Another interest of mine was Greek mythology. I always thought the Omega symbol was so cool. I imagined a superhero who donned that logo. I thought about the powers he might have. I always knew I wanted him to get his powers from a book. And then it led to other questions like, who created this book? If he's a hero, who's the villain? Naturally, the answer was Alpha. I drew this sketch of the two characters. At the time, my favorite artist was Michael Turner, and he had a character that was called Theo from the comic book Shrugged. Also at the time, I was obsessed with Kingdom Hearts 2, so his outfit looked a lot like Sora's. He also had spiky hair, so I figured his nemesis should have the opposites. Batman Beyond and movies like Minority Report and Attack of the Clones were really exciting visuals growing up. It would be so much more interesting if it was set in the future. I knew I couldn't animate frame by frame, but I learned about tweening animations and putting objects into symbols, which became a huge shortcut. If I could draw characters into pieces, maybe I can move them around. That same Christmas, I got a Wacom Bamboo. This thing was my mouse pad and my drawing tablet all in one, and I was able to create my first set of characters for the show. I did a few animation tests. The oldest first animation, though, I wanted to see him in a fight. I had this idea after looking down at the stairs of my house of him being thrown down it and sliding on the rail. So I gave it a go. I used some tweening, I put the character together, made a very sketchy background, and I threw him. It was something. It was exciting though, trying something like this. I was tweening all the body parts, but that meant at least 12 layers for one single character. And moving all of them was a nightmare. At that point, I didn't know I could also put other graphics inside of its own graphic. I came back to my old files after I realized I can move each character like a puppet. It wouldn't be as smooth, but it would simplify my timeline. I personally dubbed this South Park Omega, considering that's the way it moves. Testing out some animations with my characters, and one of my character named Jetpack did this. A character I came up with when I was 8 years old. I saw my character launch off, and I knew exactly how I did it and how to do it again. I bought a small journal and I started penciling all my ideas for an episode, of course during my class time. I designed rotations of each character, villains, backgrounds, effects, fire, lasers, all kinds of things. I was going to make an episode. And I called the episode Doomsday. And I finished it in a single weekend. I was literally addicted. I didn't want to do an origin story or a pilot episode. I just wanted to do something exciting, like an action-packed story. This is my first animation ever of anything. So I wanted it to be everything I wanted it to be. I did the second episode less than a month later and 2 more after that. but over time I was unsatisfied with the art and animation. So I redesigned the whole show over the summer with a newer and buffer Devon, and I did a little short called Boat Chase. Everything felt cleaner and fresh, and I was really excited about this new direction. The response, though, was underwhelming, and overall, my animation was still using these South Park techniques, moving a puppet on screen. I spent the next year building from scratch a new way to animate. I knew I still couldn't do frame by frame, but what if I traced it? That's when I entered the world of rotoscoping. So I got out my old digital blue camera and started following my storyboards with Omega Episode 5. I created a new story with moving characters. It took me an entire year, which at the time was really shocking that an animation could take that long. Boy, I did not know how long these episodes would eventually take. So, 2013 onward, at that point I made 2 episodes with the new frame-by-frame animation, and overall, they were okay. So finally, I really went from scratch. Not just a redesign, but a full-fledged reboot. I spent 2.5 years redesigning and rebooting the show. Young Justice was obviously a huge inspiration on designs during this stage. And of course, it's gotta be a pilot. It's gotta be a real first episode with a real story, so I had to really think about what this story is, where it's going, what it's all about. Episode 1 came out almost 3 years later, and it was really successful. A lot of people were pretty intrigued. It ended up being a daily feature on Newgrounds, which was always a dream of mine, as well as being featured on Hyun's Dojo on YouTube. Next came episode 2 and 3, which I did back-to-back in the same amount of time it took me just to make episode 1. The progress was a lot faster, but it was so much more work. I spent an entire school semester alone just adding heads to rotoscope bodies. Now, we get to episode 4. Episode 1 took me 2.5 years, episode 2 and 3 took me about the same time together, and 4 has taken me 8 years. 8 years! Don't get me wrong, I love this episode. I love all the work and the big swing I took, but that's a lot of time. In that time, I graduated from 2 different schools, I changed my major, I got 5 degrees, friendships that came and went, big life goals, 4 job changes, deaths in my family, and all that time I was working on the same episode. And for this episode, there's a lot of frame by frame, but most of it, I've come back full circle with my puppets. Now, every character is fully realized and designed from multiple angles, as the episode ended up being 13,000 frames long. All done by one person. Me. As much as I'd love for a dozen episodes to come out every year, it's going to be a slow process getting even one finished. I'm always hoping it gets faster. At the end of the day, though, creating this series has changed my life. It's taught me a lot about work ethic, time management, and prioritization, realizing how easy it is to talk about doing something and the actual act of doing it. I've learned so many art techniques just as a way to get around problems creating an episode. I've improved my art out of necessity just to get over design hurdles. But I never would have got this far as an animator if I didn't have the desire to create this show. There's been times I thought about throwing in the towel, but I just can't. As a whole, this show is everything I love rolled into one. I've always loved creating, and I've always been a creator. So, episode 5, here we go.
You sure about this, kid? There's no shame in backing out.